All right, so get ready because today we are taking a deep dive into Exodus chapter 18. And I got to tell you, this one is a little bit of a hidden gem.
Ooh, I like that.
It is. It
Hidden
is.
gem.
So we are post-Exodus, right? The Israelites are camped at Mount Sinai, and Moses is swamped.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate.
He does, but here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This chapter, it isn't just about, leadership advice, although there's a lot of that in there. It might actually be introducing us to this concept of an apostle way before the New Testament even comes into the picture.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so did Moses actually appoint the very first apostle?
Yeah.
And was that person a Gentile?
A Gentile apostle appointed by Moses, that would definitely turn some heads.
It would, wouldn't it? So let's find out.
Okay, I'm ready.
So it all starts with this family reunion.
Okay.
Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, who also happens to be a Midianite priest, shows up.
Wait, a priest? I thought we were talking ancient Israel here, not a full-blown, organized religion yet.
That's a good point. You're right to be questioning that.
Yeah.
When we say priest in this context, it's more about Jethro's role as a wise elder, a community leader.
Oh, I see. Not like a religious figurehead.
Right, exactly. Not like how we might think of it today.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So Jethro arrives, and he doesn't come empty-handed.
Oh.
He brings back Moses' wife, Zipporah, and their 2 sons.
Okay.
You know what's interesting about this?
What?
This reunion, it kind of brings to mind that whole circumcision incident from earlier in Exodus.
Oh, yeah, right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, there was definitely some tension there.
There was, yeah.
And it makes you wonder how that whole thing might have, impacted their family dynamics,
For sure.
But what's super clear is Jethro's reaction to seeing Moses and all the Israelites.
Yeah, how does he react?
He's not just happy to see his family. He's, utterly astonished by what God has done for them.
Yeah, you can really feel that sense of awe in the text.
Oh, totally. And he doesn't just stand there in awe, speechless.
He doesn't.
Nope. He actually rejoices and offers burnt offerings.
Okay, now that's interesting.
It is.
Because if we look back at Leviticus, burnt offerings were a pretty big deal.
They were.
It was a way of seeking a deeper connection with God.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really, really fascinating.
Okay, I'm listening.
We have a Gentile, someone totally outside of that covenant with Israel. And he's recognizing the God of Israel as, superior to all others.
So he's not just being polite.
No, not at all.
It's genuine acknowledgement of divine power.
Totally. You could even say it's a pivotal step towards monotheism spreading beyond Israel.
Right, that belief in one God.
Yeah, it completely challenges that whole idea, right? That was so common back then that each nation had its own separate God.
Yeah, it's like Jethro saying, nope, the God who freed Israel, he's the real deal, the one true God.
Exactly. That's huge.
But amidst all this talk about divine revelation and burnt offerings, I can't help but feel for Moses.
Oh, why?
He's drowning in responsibility. Remember, he's basically the sole judge, jury, and spiritual guide for this massive group of people.
Oh, man, I can't even imagine.
Can you, paint a picture for us of what this would have actually looked like on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so picture this. It's sunrise. The sun is just coming up over the horizon, and already there's a line forming outside of Moses' tent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're coming to him with all sorts of problems, disputes, legal issues, questions about how to interpret God's laws.
So it's not just handing down judgments, it's also, explaining all the nuances.
Oh, totally. Clarifying how these teachings actually apply to their everyday lives.
And this goes on all day.
All day, every day.
From dawn till dusk.
Yeah, I would be burnt out in a day I can't even imagine.
It sounds exhausting.
It does, and Jethro sees that right away,
Yeah, anyone with any sense would look at that situation and be like, this is not sustainable.
Right. And that's when Jethro, the outsider, the one with the fresh perspective, steps in and offers some seriously wise counsel.
Oh, I love that, the outsider's perspective.
Yeah. And he just tells Moses point blank, he's like, Moses, this isn't working. You can't do it all yourself. Delegate.
Delegate. Yeah, such a simple word, but so powerful.
It is. And I love how he doesn't just stop there.
He doesn't.
No, he actually lays out this whole criteria, specific qualities to look for in potential leaders.
Oh, wow. So he's not just saying delegate. He's giving him a plan.
He is. And then on top of that, he suggests this whole tiered system of leadership, which honestly feels incredibly modern.
A tiered system, so like levels of leadership.
Yeah. Like you would have leaders for smaller disputes and then other leaders for more significant matters, and then only the super challenging cases would even go to Moses.
I see. So like a filtering system?
Exactly. And you know what's crazy? It sounds a lot like our legal system today, doesn't it?
Yeah, now that you mention it, it does.
It's wild, right?
It really is. I never thought about it that way.
It makes you wonder, like, are some of our modern systems just rediscovering principles that were already understood thousands of years ago?
That's a really good question, and honestly, I think it's entirely possible.
It's fascinating to think about.
It is.
But okay, so remember that whole apostle thing we mentioned at the beginning? This is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay, yeah, bring on the apostles.
After Jethro gives all this advice, right?
Yeah.
The text says that Moses sent him back to his own land.
Sent him. That sounds a lot more intentional than just a casual, see you later.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the Hebrew word used there? Do you know?
It's shaliach, and get this, that's the same word that forms the basis for apostle.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying that Moses might have appointed the very first apostle, and it was his Gentile father-in-law?
It's definitely a compelling theory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. An apostle is essentially one sent to spread a message, often with the authority of the person who sent them. So let's follow that logic for a second, okay? Jethro, he's armed with this newfound understanding of the God of Israel, right?
Right.
And he's got all this wisdom he just shared with Moses.
Yeah.
So then he's sent back to his own people. To what? Spread the word?
To essentially be an apostle.
Right. Imagine that. Jethro going back to Midian and telling everyone everything he's learned.
And how much his perspective has changed.
Yeah. Talk about a total paradigm shift. If that's what happened, it really challenges everything we thought we knew about early apostleship.
I know. I mean, we always think of the 12 disciples as the first apostles, but here we have this potential Gentile apostle showing up way before Christianity is even a thing.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it that way.
It is.
It makes you wonder about that circumcision incident again, you know.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, remember how there was all that tension around it?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if it had anything to do with Jethro's understanding of God at that time, you know?
Yeah, interesting.
Like maybe this whole experience, seeing God's power firsthand, advising Moses, maybe it was a journey of spiritual growth for Jethro himself.
Yeah, like maybe his views were transformed.
Exactly. And that adds a whole other layer to the idea of him as a potential apostle, doesn't it? He's not just a messenger. He's someone who's undergone a transformation and is now sharing that with others.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
It's pretty cool.
It is. But then it makes you wonder, how did his own people react?
I know, right?
Like, did they welcome him back with open arms? Or were they resistant to these new ideas?
I guess that's a question we'll have to keep pondering.
It is a bit of a cliffhanger, isn't it?
It is. But even if we can't definitively label Jethro as the first apostle, there's no doubt that his role in this chapter is super significant.
Absolutely. And that's something we're thinking about.
Definitely.
So much to unpack here.
So much.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll delve even deeper into the implications of all this.
Sounds good. I'm ready for more.
Me too. You know what's really interesting to me is how we always think about progress. Like it's this straight line, always moving forward.
Right, like a steady march.
Yeah, but here we have this concept of apostleship showing up in Exodus way before Christianity even exists.
It really makes you question that whole linear progression thing, doesn't it?
It does. Like maybe the development of ideas and beliefs is way messier than we think.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely not a straight line.
Right. Full of twists and turns and unexpected connections.
Exactly.
And it just makes you wonder, what other assumptions are we holding on to that might need a second look?
Right. Like what other aha moments are hiding in plain sight?
Exactly. Just waiting for us to, challenge our preconceived notions.
Jethro's story is a perfect example of that.
It is.
It challenges us to rethink the traditional timeline of apostleship.
And to really consider the idea that God's wisdom can flow through anyone.
Anyone who's open to receiving it.
Right. And remember those leadership qualities that Jethro emphasized.
God-fearing, honest, and incorruptible.
Yeah. Those principles are so powerful even today.
They really are.
They're not just about leading a nation, you know?
It's bigger than that.
Yeah. It's about building trust, creating a just and fair society.
Whether we're talking about ancient Israel or the modern world, those values are so important.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Exodus chapter 18, I'm left with this thought. If Jethro, this Gentile outsider, could play such a pivotal role in shaping the future of Israel,
Right.
what does that say about our potential to impact the world?
What impact can we have even in small ways?
Exactly. Like what seemingly small acts of wisdom or courage,
Or compassion?
yeah, could create ripple effects way beyond what we can imagine.
It's a powerful question to consider.
It is. And it's a reminder that sometimes the most profound insights and transformations come from the most unexpected places.
I love that.
Me too. So keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep seeking those unexpected nuggets of truth.
That's what it's all about.
It is. Until next time.